Welcome back to Dubbzi Bricks for another Gotham City update. In the last update we worked on the Jokers Funhouse here. Now when I originally built the Jokers Funhouse, the roller coaster came out of the far end. However, since I've moved the Funhouse to this part of the city, I wanted to come down this end, so it meant pretty much a rebuild of the structure. The front section here survived, the doors on the back and the Jokers were the only parts that really survived. Apart from that, everything else was amended or rebuilt. Now in this update, I want to work on the actual roller coaster itself. I want to put a chain so it comes up on the inside and then brings the carts to the top so they can then release them down the track. And then obviously the chain will go back into the building. Now I have put a Technic hole on the wall just here. And I want to have a wheel on there so when you rotate the wheel, that brings the carts up. I could have put a motor in there, however, it's not something I'm going to have constantly running, so I just want to have it so it is functional. So I thought doing it manually is more than adequate for this city. Now I know there are going to be a few headaches involved with this. I've never done anything like this before. And one thing I know is going to be a bit of an issue is when the carts come down, they're going to be coming down here, they're going to be going under the chain. So I need to make sure that the chain, when it comes from around about here, going back into the building, is not hitting the minifigures. So that's one problem we've got. The other is the building here is modular, so I can move that over to the table, whereas this is attached to the actual base plates at the bottom there. So again, I need to break this section off here whilst working on it so I can add some cogs into or onto the bottom of this brown plate here. The cogs are going to have to be up this high. If I do it any lower, then the chain will not have brought the carts up enough to then release them down the slope. So yeah, it's going to be quite a bit of experimenting going on with this build. But it is something I'm really looking forward to doing. So without further ado, let's take the structure over to the table, get some cogs out, get the chain out, and let's see what we can come up with. In hindsight, it would have made a lot more sense for me to have actually worked on the mechanics in here when I was rebuilding this. Luckily though, I have got a large gap in the back here where the doors open, and also we have got the removable roof, so I can quite easily get my hands inside there. What would have made more sense though was leaving a hole in the wall here for the chain to go through. So I think that's the only thing that's going to be a real issue. I'm going to need to amend the support pillars here for the chain to go through there as well. But again, that's something that's quite easy to amend. Anyway, let's try and work out where to start. And that's the wall all amended. So there's a hole now for the chain to go through. And I'm using this piece here to fill the gap. And that's got the tile effect on there. So that's going to stop the chain catching on any studs. We then got the plate for the actual track to attach to. Just put the tiles back on either side of the hole. And the plate has to be one plate higher than the tile to the side, just so that when the track's attached to it, it can be pushed fully onto the studs. Now, the Technic hole that I've put on the side here is going to just about clip the bottom of the track, so I just need to bring that down by one or possibly two studs on there. So that's the next amendment we're going to make. Then we can put the axle through the wall and start work on the cogs. And we have 3 cogs all in place, and I'm not sure whether or not this is the right way you go about doing so. There's going to be quite a bit of slack on it in certain areas. There needs to be slack on the top part here as it curves. So once it comes around this cog here, it's going to be connected to that. And then we need it to just rest on the rest of those beams there. When it comes back through here, we've got the cog there, which is connected to the outside wall via an axle, and then we've got another cog on that part. So yeah, all fun and games and lots of experimenting coming up. Now we've got the chain all connected up here. I haven't put any cogs on the very end of this. I've just wrapped it around the top of the track. And this does actually work. It comes all the way up here and it gets to there. And it's not releasing just yet because each of these carts have got a little pin on the bottom which is connecting or catching on the chain. So I think I can actually make the chain go a lot further back. I just need it so that the majority of the weight is over the brow of the hill, so to speak. Once that's there, then as long as this one has been disconnected from the chain, then it will have the momentum to go downhill. So I think I can actually go back to around about here on the actual chain. So if I just put my finger there, that's now gone. So I can actually go back to this part here. I think that will do the trick. So we're just going to change the chain over, or reduce the chain size, get it to that point there, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, that will do the trick. And unfortunately it hasn't worked. It is still caught on that last one, so this turns and it's just stuck there basically. So I need to come up one more rung on the actual roller coaster parts. I need to come to this one here, then that should do the job nicely. I will attach a cog underneath here eventually as well, as at the moment this can slide from side to side, so it's not quite as well connected as it could be. So I'll probably have a bar going across here, or maybe even from this side, and then it will have the cog just below it. Need to keep this as high as possible, as mentioned earlier, so that when the cart goes down, the minifigure doesn't hit his head. So let's make those changes now, and then we'll just see what else we need to amend on here. Attached a couple of Technic bricks there, which will eventually be attached to the wood effect support stand. But one thing I am going to do, I'm just going to try and work a little bit more on this section just here. If possible, I'd like to have the chain coming a little bit closer to this support strut, as I'm just worried that the first pin is on the first carriage is not going to connect onto that quite early enough. I just whizzed it around and it was missing it, so I'm just going to see if I can do anything about that, and fingers crossed we'll be able to get it just a stud closer to the support beam just there. I just tried using a smaller cog on here, but it's exactly the same as before. It's actually touching the green part there and it's not coming over this way any further. So I'm going to experiment using a lightsaber piece just to see if I can hook the chain over a little bit more. Not sure if it's going to work, but it's worth giving it a try. Now on the top here we put a cog to help keep the chain in the center of the run here. That's all working perfectly. The only problem I've got at the moment is the chain is rubbing on this bit of plate just here. It's making a clicking noise, which is a little bit annoying. So what I'm going to do is just try and put another cog in just around here somewhere, just to pull it down a fraction. Then hopefully that'll give it a nice smooth motion. And the roller coaster has now been attached back to the funhouse, and all the cogs are turning, the chain is working, but when you bring the carriages up and it sets off on its way back down, it doesn't always catch onto the chain again. So now I'm turning it and it hasn't caught. It does catch it occasionally, but not consistently. So what I'm hoping is going to happen is once I put the bricks onto the actual carts or carriages, whatever you want to call them, that it will then actually have more momentum going down due to the weight, and then it will just go that little bit further along the track and actually catch the chain. So now we have the added weight of the carriages plus some escapees from Arkham Asylum. So let's just see whether or not that does the trick. And sure enough, they have come through. So that's all good. Really pleased with the end result. And the next thing we're going to be working on is the interior of the Jokers Funhouse. Now, I do want to put a couple of bricks above the Technic brick just there and the one on the opposite side, as when you turn the wheel, if you're a little bit too rough with it, they can pop off. So just need to do that. And the same with the bottom one there. That just looks like it's popped up a fraction. I'm not sure whether that's due to me not pushing down properly in the first place or whether the movement of the chain has just disrupted it. So we'll sort it out now before we start building anything else in here. Now the plan is I'm going to have some steps that come up as soon as you come through the door, which will then lead to a level here, which is probably going to be about halfway up. And then we're going to do the room of mirrors in here and a couple of other bits and pieces for the Joker to cause havoc in. So let's get the thinking cap on and work out what we're going to do in here. And here we have the next floor. We've got the stairs at the back there. However, I think I'm going about this the wrong way. At the moment, the stairs are over there, but you're not going to be able to see anything at all from here. When you've got the roof on, all right, you can peer down if you wish to do so. But I think it'd be better to have it so that the floor, this floor here, is pushed right up against the wall. When you come in the door, you walk around here, you got a platform to be able to get onto the roller coaster, and then the stairs will lead up to the next floor. At the moment, the way it is, there's nowhere for people to actually board onto the roller coaster itself. So yeah, I think we're just going to make that amendment. The floor is in two sections, so it just breaks down this part just here, so I can peel it off easily enough, move the pillars, and then just rebuild the floor. So let's do that now, and then I'll check back in once we've made a little bit more progress. And I'm instantly liking the amendments made to this floor here. It looks so much better. When you're opening the back of the building up here, it makes a lot more sense to have it like this. So what I'm going to do now is put some more steps up to here. We'll have a wooden platform going along here, which is how people will board the roller coaster. And then we'll continue the steps up to this section just here. And what I'll probably end up doing is putting some snot bricks on this wall here. So I'll just remove a couple of the bricks. Then I can plate that off and then do some sort of tiling on the actual plates. That way it'll add a much needed colour to this room and give it a lot more character. Now I will need to order some plates in to be able to do that, so I won't be able to finish this floor today, which is unfortunate. So I was really hoping to get this building all done and dusted, but it'll be worthwhile in the long run. And we made a start on the boarding ramp for the roller coaster and also the stairs going up to the next floor up. I would like to put a railing along here and some sort of barrier along there. But apart from that, yeah, happy with how that's all come out. I've just been sorting out some snot bricks behind this wall that are facing inwards so I can attach the art to it further down the line. And I've decided to change the lamps out here. So I've now gone for a totally different design. And I'll show you how I've gone about doing those in just a moment. But the other thing I'm doing as well is tidying up all of the wires. Previously, they were all hanging down and I was just really struggling to keep it nice and tidy. I want to have it so when you're opening the doors you can't see them. So yeah, we're just trying to make the most of using different pieces like the modified plate there, and I'm also threading them through Technic bricks as well, as I said, just purely to keep them tidy. But anyway, let's show you how I've gone about making the lamp and then we'll carry on with the building. Now with the lamps for the Jokers Funhouse, I wanted to have it so that you couldn't actually see any of the wire from the outside. So what I've done, I've got one of these discs here which has got a hole through there, got a cone piece which again has got a hole through the center like so, and then we've put a stud again with a hole in it on the bottom. Now what we're going to do is feed the cable through, and you're doing it plug first as the bulb is a fraction too big to fit through the hole, which is good because it stops it going too far through. And then I've got one of these inverted tiles here, and I've used yellow on the actual mock itself, but I couldn't find another one, so I've just used the clear one here just for the purpose of this video here. And then we've got a headlight brick. Now what I'm doing is I'm actually pushing it through the back of the brick to start with and then through the bottom of the brick, so it's coming through like so. And then what we're going to do is connect the headlight brick to the top of the cone. I think I might have used cylinders on the actual mock itself, but yeah, again, it was just using the pieces to give you an idea of what we're doing. Then I'm putting a tile over the top of on the last hole on there just to cover it over, a cheese wedge on the front just to tidy it up. Then what I've done is I've got another cylinder piece just here, Technic pin, push the Technic pin through into the actual cylinder. Then again we feed the plug through the whole Technic pin just there, clip the stud onto the back of the jumper plate, and there you have it. Now all you need to do is put a Technic brick into your structure, and once again just feed the wire through the Technic brick. So there we have it, you've got the lamp all connected to the building and the wire's not showing. And after several hours I've now changed all of the lights over in here. So we got some green, we got some purple. This side is just the plain white, but the biggest change was on the front of the mock, and that is what's taken all of the time to get done. I've been trying to improve the lighting on the Joker Funhouse sign here, and originally I had lights pointing up. That didn't quite work, so I just kept on experimenting, and finally I think I've come up with something that looks a lot better. Much happier with these down lights just here. and it's quite nice to see a different coloured glow through the doorway just there. But let's turn the lights off and see how it looks from the front now. And here we have the lights in the dark, and much happier with this whole front section now. It's just giving it a little bit more character, I think, a little bit more light shining down on it. And again, the Jokers Funhouse sign at the top there. And it was the Jokers Funhouse at the top where I spent so much time. I was trying so many different techniques with the lights, with them shining up, with them one down the bottom here. I just had a couple coming from the side and nothing worked. It was just not doing a good enough job, or I wasn't happy with it. But yeah, we really like the way that we've got the different glows coming from through the doorway and out of the side where the roller coaster comes up. So I'm really happy that I spent the time making these changes. I was hoping to start the interior of this upper floor here within the Jokers Funhouse. However, until I've got the tiles to do the floor, I don't think there's much point in me doing much more on here, as I'm only going to have to disrupt it. And again, with the back wall, that I need to order in the tiles I want to put on there. So I will be placing an order in the next day or so I can get all those parts in as quickly as possible. Now, I've gone as far as I can go with the actual Jokers Funhouse at the moment until I've got the parts in. Did make one more amendment to the Joker, and that was put some eyes on there. And I have got it so there are some headlight bricks behind, so I will be able to feed some lights through to light up the eyes. Now, Craigster from Brickstage Pass said, why don't I change the track over there to a red piece so it really shows the tongue? So that is something that I will be doing. Anyway, what I'm going to take my attention to now is finally doing some tiling on this section down here, and also bringing out the wooden pier. And that's the water all completed around the roller coaster and the pier section. And I do need to get a load more of these light trans blue tiles. I just haven't got that many. And I'm getting through the cheese wedges like nobody's business. So the cheese wedges, I'm doing one up one way and then down the other way to give it the wave effect. Really happy with how it's coming along. It really does depend on where you were stood as to how it looks. The higher up you get a lot of light shine on it and it looks a little bit bright. However, other angles you get it and it looks really good. So yeah, happy with overall though with how it's come along. Now with the roller coaster section just here, the Jokers Funhouse, there is still so much more obviously I need to do inside. Just need to wait for the parts to come in. But following some comments that have cropped up in previous videos about am I going to have other attractions around the Jokers Funhouse, I am actually thinking it's probably going to be better to have this as a Jokers Funland. And what I was contemplating doing is where the blue base plate ends just there, actually having from there all the way over to here as the Joker Funland. So I could have an archway that leads into it from there, which would have Jokers Funland written on top of it. And that's where this section actually starts. Over on that back part there is going to be Rockwork, which is going to have the Arkham Asylum on there. Originally, I was going to have Ace Chemicals here, but I'm thinking I could put Ace Chemicals up the top of the raised platform. That tower is just resting there at the moment. That won't be there. And then I could have Blackgate Prison to the side of it. So just a couple of things I'm thinking about at the moment, and I'm sure we'll come up with the solution that we're happy with. But yeah, really exciting times ahead. I really do like the idea of adding more fairground attractions to there. I think it could look really good and bring some much needed colour to Gotham City. Anyway, that's all we have time for. I hope you've enjoyed the update. If you have, please remember to give us a big thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content on the channel. And if you know anybody else you think would be interested in building Gotham City in Lego, if you could share the channel with them, it would be much appreciated. And I have now also started doing memberships as well, so you can find the details of that in the homepage of the channel. And it's just there for people that want to do a little bit more for help support these really expensive mocks. But rest assured, even if you're not a member, you will still see every single video that I upload. So there's not going to be any hidden videos behind memberships. Anyway, thanks for popping on by, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.